Welcome back, guys, to another great episode of the Breakaway Show. I'm your host, David, and we have the entire home team with us today.
Pumped
What
to
is
be
up,
here.
guys? Let's get dicey and slicey and piss people off.
Yeah,
I love it. We got Bree, Michael, Fabian, myself, everybody's here. And we got so much in the news cycle since Monday, literally. So we got a bunch of different topics to talk about tonight. Obviously, what was trending all over Twitter today, which was surprising at first, was the Ashley Biden diary story. If you remember, they thought that this was a hoax and everything. Well, we have a story that actually confirms that it's authentic. Former ESPN anchor Sage Steele admits that her entire interview with Biden was scripted. So that'll be interesting to look at. Now, there's a massive surge in attempts to register to vote across battleground states right now, with people that don't show their photo ID or don't have a photo ID and don't even actually have the right registration or information to register to vote. So we're going to take a look at that. The bird flu is back in the news. So we're wondering, could this be the COVID 4.0, 5.0 at this point? Tulsi Gabbard rejects RFK Jr.'s VP proposal. So we're going to have to take a quick look at that. And funny little story just to end the weekend for you guys and start it on a funny note. Trans woman is left sobbing after her encounter with a TSA agent at the airport. You don't want to miss that story for sure. And it's at the very end. Guys, how's the week been so far before we get into the stories?
Good, man. Busy week as usual. Oh, Fabian, I threw you on mute there for a second, but
yeah, the week has been incredible. It's news is speeding up faster and faster. So if you're looking to get the best news directly as soon as it happens, then watch us, follow us, and watch when we stream, because we're going to be talking about the stuff that the mainstream media is going to have tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Because we do investigations. If you watched our show earlier today, every Thursday we have investigations and we go deep into all this stuff. So we did a 1-hour investigation into the Ashley Biden debacle, is what I'm calling it. So if you haven't watched it, it's on our pages everywhere.
I love it.
So now we're getting some additional commentary on that nonsense. And you know what? It's a breaking story, but is it surprising? You know, with all Biden's hair sniffing and whatnot, we know he's a creep.
Exactly.
We know he's a weirdo. And it kind of aligns with all of the, Hollywood, weird pedophilia stuff. We know these people are sickos, so it's not surprising.
The least surprising thing about everything that we saw in the diary today was all the context of it. The most surprising thing is the fact that Ashley Biden actually flies Spirit. And we actually saw that when we did our investigations episode during the afternoon. But we'll get into all that details and whatnot. Project Veritas today actually posted a fantastic clip to kind of sum up the entire situation. But the reason this is in the story today in the first place is because the DOJ is actually going after the lady who they are saying stole these items, especially her diary. Now, as we get into the details of the story, you'll see that she didn't actually steal this stuff. But why don't we play this clip that we have from Project Veritas and we'll go from there.
Hi there. I'm calling from Florida. My family, their friend who owns a house down here in Palm Beach, was renting it out. I don't know how, but this is a while back. But anyway, a new renter moved in, and Ashley Biden was staying in this room, and they found her diary, all her clothes, luggage, pills. Anyway, diary is pretty crazy. I think it's worth taking a look at. It's not a joke. It's real. And I'd love to get into your hands.
After years of public speculation and internal deliberation, we are finally releasing our conversation with Ashley Biden about her diary and other possessions. They were abandoned and later offered to Project Veritas.
Hi, is this Ashley Biden?
This is she. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, I just wanted, so I heard you have a few of my belongings. And so I was going to ask if you could please meet my friend, Eric, who is down in Del Rey. If you could meet him and get this up to him.
There's a diary here. It starts in January. It says, January at the end of a New York month, I'm sitting on a bed at the I building.
Yeah. So if you could just give everything that you have to Eric, that would be really great.
I don't want to give this to the wrong person. I mean, I want to make sure
at this point, and I don't mean to. I don't want to have to get Secret Service involved in this, right? Because it's a whole process.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I am Ashley Biden. It is my stuff. So if you could just give all of that over, I would really appreciate it. I know you sent a picture to my husband with a camera and a few other things that are mine as well. So that would be really great. Where is a good place for him to meet you?
There's also this bag with luggage tags on it. And so is that bag, because there's all this stuff, is that bag yours too, Ashley?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Right.
Bada boom.
Bada boom. So what do you guys think when you see this? Like Project Veritas, pretty authentic, very authentic, I would say. So I think it's a reliable source. I think we're listening to a real call. What do you guys all think when you hear this?
First thing for me is what are lefties going to say about this? Because, you know, they've been sweeping this. I've shown my mom videos. Mom, I love you, but I've shown her videos of Biden being a weirdo. And she's like, that's got to be faked. That's got to be, you know. So the first thing that any lefty is going to say is, oh, there's no way that's actually her. But Project Veritas does do their homework. Was this Project Veritas or James O'Keefe? I don't know.
Oh.
Now they have a little bit of a split.
It was Project Veritas that originally broke the story when James O'Keefe was with them years ago.
Right.
So I think they're continuing it now.
So they've had this diary for a long time, right?
Correct.
Now it's just that it's all validated and they're exposing it and putting it out there, because this call is quite let's say, I don't know, damning. It's not there's no crime involved, it's just weird stuff. But to me it's just, I don't know, it seems authentic, at least.
Potential crime.
Right.
Right.
So that's the interesting thing here, is that the reason this is all back in the news cycle is because the DOJ is now going after the lady that found the diary in the first place. Now, here's the interesting thing, is that for the longest time, I thought that she actually stole it. New York Times claimed that this was a burglary. That's the reason why she ended up with a diary. But the reality of the story, and somewhere here in the middle of the New York Post we'll find it, that she actually went there. This was where Ashley Biden used to live, and that was a rental property. So the lady came down probably for vacation, and guess what she stumbled upon? Ashley Biden's diary. Well, then she turned to Project Veritas after she saw that this is like really authentic. I should probably get this in there because of all the incriminating stuff in there. And she sold it to Project Veritas. So now Biden's DOJ is going after her, trying to get her into prison for about 6 to 10 months or something like that. It's pretty wild, guys.
Yeah, and you can see it here that it literally says Harris came across the first daughter's diary, tax records, private family photos, and her cell phone in September of 2020 during a stay at a home in Delray Beach, Florida, where the president's daughter had previously been living. And I know we talked about earlier that it's just, if this were a true crime drama, it wouldn't be a very good one, because nothing makes sense. If you live in a home and you leave from a home, why would you then go and leave everything you have inside of this home when it's tax records and personal diaries, when you know that you've written about your father saying that he took showers with you and you may have been molested, and that you had sex with young friends, and you have Secret Service whose job it is to make sure that all this weird stuff doesn't happen? It just doesn't make any sense.
And her phone too. She left her phone and her tax records. It's very weird.
You know, I was actually thinking about this after we got off of our investigation show, is what if she did that in order to prove that it was truly her stuff? Because anyone could have said that it was falsified. But if you leave electronic records in the phone and you leave tax records, I mean, that's literally confirming that it is yours.
The whole thing is wild. Oh, we got Mr. Ferris on board as well.
I am here. How's
speaking of taxes?
Oh man, I actually got money back from the Fed this year. I couldn't believe it.
Take as much money as you can from them, because as you can see, they're corrupt.
Absolutely. I see we're on the Biden stuff. What are we talking about here?
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this? So her Ashley Biden, the daughter of President Biden, was
Yes.
all over the news today because of her diary, because the DOJ is going after the chick that just so happened to find her diary. So what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, and guys, production, can we get Kevin on the 5 columns so we can all be on one screen? Okay, they said they're gonna do it.
Thank you guys. Well, when it comes to this, I'll let you guys hear me until you actually get to see my face made for radio, as my friends say. But this, of course, the DOJ would do this, right? Of course, the come after somebody who is accurately trying to just report what they found. I mean, who knows if she actually stole it? I don't. But they don't care about what's actually said in it. They care more about that, oh my gosh, weird crap is getting exposed about Joe Biden. That's what they care more. They care more about going after the person that exposed it than the actual crap that's said in it. And that, of course, that's the way it would work in Biden's America.
Right. We have somebody who commented saying, yeah, of course the FBI is going to ignore the actual content about in the diary. It's just a matter of the diary itself. It's reminiscent of the laptop situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the laptop was a whole different story. This is like my Sunday morning mass compared to the laptop, right? But it's the same situation. What's wrong with these people? Like, what if you're Hunter Biden and you have all this nonsense on your laptop? I don't know. I think they just know they're above the law, right? And they know
all
that
cracked out. We were reading an article earlier. It was talking about how 5 members of the Biden family have been to rehab for drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
that whole world is cracked, right? I mean, Washington. Something I've been talking about recently a lot is Washington D.C. Like these politicians, the nature of being a politician in a republic. You're not supposed to be a full-time politician, right? You're a representative of your community. You're supposed to live in your community, and you're supposed to, make decisions and vote based on what your community wants. Now there's these unelected, unaccountable, elected, like as your video recently, our elections are a joke, which we're getting to later. But Washington is a swamp in many ways, right?
It really is. And this is a perfect example of it because you literally have the DOJ going after him. And look, Kevin got in here right in time.
Yeehaw.
Right into there he is. Why don't we take a quick break and then we'll go into our next story. So another interesting story that was trending all over Twitter today was former ESPN anchor Sage Steele, who is now very politically involved for some reason after being fired for, I guess, now meeting her DEI standards at ESPN. She was all over Twitter because she came out and said that, yes, her interview with Biden was fully scripted, and not just scripted, but she was also told special commands like, hey, you cannot ask follow-up questions. And she went through a very interesting process just to interview the president. And I heard an interesting fact real quickly. By this time, President Trump has already done 400 interviews, and so did Obama. But Biden has done less than 100 interviews, and all of them are these softball interviews. And her coming out and saying this is a perfect example of all the different kinds of interviews that Biden has done. I'll let you judge why this is happening, but perfect. Let's go ahead and run the clip.
Here as we get set for a wonderful day in sports. Opening day for America's national pastime.
This was about 2 months after he took office. That was an interesting experience in its own right because it was so structured, and I was told, you will say every word that we write out. You will not deviate from the script and go to the word. Like every single question was scripted, gone over dozens of times by many executives, editors and executives. Absolutely. I was on script and was told not to deviate. It was very much, this is what you will ask. This is how you will say it. No follow-ups. No follow-ups. Next. I knew that this was a lot bigger than just the wonderful editors that I worked with. This went up to the fourth floor, as we said, that we're all the bosses, the top executives, the decision makers are the president of our company, the CEO, where they all work.
Here as we get set for a wonderful day in sports.
So, guys, when you hear that the president has to do scripted interviews and they go through a vigorous process just to be able to interview him, what does that tell you about the president?
Kevin smiles. I want to hear what.
It's a good layup question, you know?
Well, really,
Run it, Kevin.
You're right. It is an absolute layup question. What it tells us is, what is the difference between DC and Hollywood? Well, we already knew that pedophiles were in both of them. Now we know that actors are in them too, and that's exactly what Biden's doing here. If it's all scripted and he has it all in front of him, basically he's just the only way that he's worse than Leonardo DiCaprio is the fact that Biden can't remember his lines. And that's really what we're seeing. We know that this is a puppeted administration. We knew it before. All this does is confirm to us what we already knew. And we already knew this because we already have plenty. If you Google right now, everybody, I challenge you to do it. Keep obviously this stream up on your phone or whatever, but Google Biden note cards and you will see, since the very beginning of his administration, tons of news stories in which he has note cards when he's talking to donors, note cards when he's up talking to reporters, note cards when he's doing interviews. He always has them because he always has the answers scripted because he knows the question beforehand.
Yeah, I like when he goes, can I answer that question? He literally asks his handlers, or he says, yeah, I don't know if they'll allow me to, and he just says it out loud, and you're like, oh my gosh, man. Like, people are watching this. Not even Democrats or Republicans, but like other people from other countries. It's like when your mom says something really, really embarrassing. You're just like, oh, mom, come on. That's how I feel when I watch them.
I'm actually impressed, to tell you the truth. When I heard you say, what is it, 100 interviews he's done?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be like 10. I don't know how they even prop him up anymore. Like, he's clearly, you know, is it actually him? You know, with this whole face skin situation, like, how are they keeping him up there? I don't know if they're pumping him with drugs or what, but it's honestly impressive that he's got that. They're even doing it. So let's give him that. But the other impressive thing is that they're making it work for the little base they have left, right? Because the base is not listening to the full interview. They're hearing the little clips, the little sound bites. So it is a Hollywood production. But we have to kind of, it's like the COVID thing. We have to kind of learn from the mastery of it, because what they did with COVID was like a master stroke in propaganda and censorship. You know, they shut down countries all around the world with just propaganda machines. So we have to like
drugs or AI.
Right. I found that comment to be hilarious. I had to throw it right on the way. But Michael, to just pedal on that real quickly, I mean, I think what keeps him afloat is his biggest donors of Big Pharma. You know, they're pumping him beautifully, giving him the energy that he needs. It's what it's going on. Right?
There are tons of legal steroids, but I think that Michael brings up there are things that are impressive about this. When you hear that there's over hundreds of interviews or over 100 interviews, and it feels like we haven't seen that many, I would argue that potentially the impressive thing would be if he had a writing team that could write that many interviews, because that's really what, if they are truly that scripted, as we kind of already know, is that he would have a writing team that would write that many. And what I would see potentially is that the reason why it feels like he hasn't done that many is because many of them probably reuse comparable questions and retool similar answers. So his writing team doesn't have to do that much work, and they can pump it out. And Joe also doesn't have to remember a new answer to a new question.
Yeah, that's very true.
Speaking of Joe Biden's fan base, how many people, like, do you guys know in real life that are actually fans of Joe Biden?
Oh, I know plenty. You just go down all the way downtown Atlanta, and you take a left, and you'll end up in like what we call Gay Central there, and all the streets and everything like that is painted in rainbows and whatnot. That's Joe Biden's favorite voters.
Right.
There's a clip we have here of what are we looking at here, David?
So this is Sage Steele on a recent show, Adam Carolla's show, where she just, for the first minute, it's great. She talks about how that vigorous process I was talking about just to be able to interview the president.
Oh,
late breaking news. You did an interview with Biden a couple of years back, and then the scuttlebutt is it was all sort of pre-scripted. Is that fair to say?
Very much. Word for word.
Word for word. Here are the questions.
Yes. Which, trust me, as a journalist, it made me sick. Like,
What?
that's just wrong, because it's one thing to have the questions scripted, and which never happens in my career. It was the first time in 28 years. First time. Almost the worst part to me was that I wasn't allowed to ask a follow-up question.
Oh, is that part of the stipulation?
Yes.
That's interesting.
So if he said something, which he did, a couple of things about his thoughts on why the Major League Baseball All-Star Game should be taken out of Atlanta at that point because of the racist voter laws. And I wanted to push back and say, well, what do you mean by this? Even if it's just to clarify something.
Yeah.
As a journalist, that's my job, to listen and ask, because it's not about me, it's about the viewers who are trying to listen to the commander-in-chief. And I wasn't allowed to even ask a follow-up. And there's a lot more to the story, which what led to, I think, me getting the Biden interview, which I will reveal at some point. I'm not quite there yet. But I at the same time, I'm not going to say no, right?
Because Atlanta.
Yeah. So as you can see, it was, not a real interview. And how many times have you seen Trump just come out straight out of the White House with this nice little suit on and say, "Come on, media, where you at? Let's take it on," right? So
You're
this
fake
isn't a real
news.
president,
You're
right?
fake news. Next question.
Well, that's exactly what you guys have seen Shane Gillis, right? That's exactly what he says. Like, the best speech ever was Abu al-Baghdadi, al-Baghdadi. He died like a dog.
That was all freestyle right there.
It was quite sad, but
I wouldn't have cried.
I wouldn't have cried. We killed him. He died like and the dogs that had killed him, they just did a great job. They're beautiful, beautiful dogs.
Oh man, I think we need more segments of you, Kev. That's very well refined.
But that's what it is.
I like it.
People love the realness. Like, you go in there without a script, you tell them what happens, and you tell them how you feel. That's it. That's how the president really feels, not the back office of 100 writers that are probably, doing stuff in the Senate chambers, like anal sex, like, have been already caught. Like, that's him. That's who people want to know. And that's why people like Trump. It's like, yeah, I don't like everything he says, but at least I know that what he's saying is actually his words and not someone shoving it down his throat, like whatever medication they give Biden for the State of the Union, which, by the way, I want some of that, whatever that is.
Whatever it was, right?
Did he look jacked up? I don't
Oh
remember.
my God. It was like a completely different person.
Oh,
it's like when you see Hitler at a like doing a speech, and he's rah, and you can see him sitting at the Olympics and he's tapping his fingers as he's he's all cracked out.
Oh yeah, Hitler was on speed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Brianna, you've touched on this, eh?
Actually, Brianna, wasn't he like a vegan too? Maybe that's why he was all.
I don't know about that, but I know his doctor
on a
had
deficit
him on
of
some cocktail
protein.
of all kinds of drugs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, to keep that
There's actually
brain
a book
going.
There's actually a book, Mike. You might know this book because you're really good with books. But there's a book about Hitler and drugs, and about the drugs that he was probably on, and the doctors that used to medicate him, because they know the names of these doctors. It's a really unique book. I don't know the name, but I do want to read it.
Brianna, did you make a video?
If he was,
Did you make a video?
Kind of like.
Did you make a video about this? I was asking you a question. Did you make a video about this, about Hitler and drugs?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, you didn't.
No.
Okay, you're just familiar with it.
Something
Okay.
else recently, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
What were you saying,
guys.
Brianna?
Should we go?
What was I saying?
Should we go?
Oh,
into
I wonder if he was just sort of like a puppet, if that wasn't actually like Hitler's ideology, if they drugged him up and they just kind of used him as a mouthpiece. I don't know.
Interesting. Very interesting. He was a very very good actor, if that's the case, because his speeches, oh my God. And I saw one recently where they actually translated
By the way,
it
guys, we should stop saying
in
his
his
name because
voice.
we're gonna get shadow banned on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
All right,
Hitler.
next.
Just call him the big guy. Oh no,
What did you call him? We need a code name.
That's already taken up by Biden.
Mustache man. That's what they call him on Twitter.
Okay.
Mustachio
Mustache
Mike.
Man.
No, not Mike, because that's Mike. Anyway,
I'm
on to the
sticking
next
Miami, Mike.
subject.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah. Do we want to take a little break or a little commercial break and then launch it back, or we go straight to the next topic?
Producer, what are we thinking?
I think we should go into the next topic, guys.
All right, let's see it.
All right. Well, we have a massive surge of attempts to register to vote by what seems to be illegals, because these individuals are not showing proper photo ID, have wrong social security numbers, because all of these are attempts to register to vote. So if we could pull up that tweet, producer, we'll be able to see more in detail about what's going on. But guys, obviously people like Amish people, for example, they don't have a photo ID. So this is normal for them. But these are attempts where the information was wrong. So perhaps they didn't provide the right photo ID. Maybe it was a fake ID. Maybe they provided a social security to register, because that's another option how you can register. And they were still denied because the number was wrong. And you'll see that there was a surge in the last week or so in these states. But as you can see, this tweet by End Wokeness that, holy crap. Wait, where did that tweet just go? The one, I think it was right before that. But basically, yeah, there we go. So Texas has had over 1 million people try and do this since 2024. Pennsylvania had over 500,000 people try and do this since 2024. Arizona, almost 250,000. This is legit people trying to register to vote and are not able to, essentially. What do you guys think about this?
This is near and dear to my heart. I just made a video on it, and PolitiFact wrote an article today specifically about my video and fact-checked it, so I had to take it down.
Wait,
all
what?
about
A badge of honor
Yes.
right there.
Yes, yeah. AP wrote an article about one of my videos, and now PolitiFact has as well.
So this video is officially off of Instagram.
Yeah, I had to archive it because I don't want to get my account taken down over
Wow.
one video. So, yeah, but here in Texas specifically, I believe it was like 95,000 non-residents were registered to vote, and many of them had already voted in previous elections. So it doesn't surprise me at all that so many are trying to register to vote, obviously failing. But I think this is a much, much bigger problem than even those numbers show.
I definitely agree with
wild.
you, Bree. Fabian, what do you think?
I mean, look, you knew that they were going to try to find a way to do this. We've been talking about it for months. Vivek has been talking about it for months. We understand the game plan, the Cloward pivot strategy. It's no surprise that this is happening. But when we find evidence of it happening, that gives us the I told you so moment. And that's really important for people who don't believe this, who are saying it's all conspiracy. You guys are QAnon. You guys are just big, crazy, Trumpers or whatever. But then when you show them the data, how do you refute the data? That's like when Brianna and myself and David found all those patents of the directed energy weapons. Once you have the information in front of you, what else can you say that is going to say, I don't believe it? Either you just got to say, I'm dumb and I don't want to believe it. And some people do that, right? Because it's a scary big world and you like to be insulated, and that's fine. But the truth is the truth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Fabian.
For the
Kev?
record,
Yeah,
if
or
we're
Mike?
I'll go quickly. For the record, if we're on YouTube, election fraud doesn't exist. The 2020 election, there was not one fraudulent vote, or no, it wasn't widespread. So just for the record, but we do want election integrity, of course. So there's definitely worrying. They know that Trump is, if there's a legitimate election, which of course there will be because there's no election fraud, but if there's a legitimate election in 2024, Trump wins in a landslide. I mean, come on, right? So like you were saying, Brianna, how many people that you speak to, and there are some that actually think Biden's either doing a good job or is competent. And even the most, aggressive leftist and Biden fans will say that, he does have dementia, but still he's better than Trump, right? What blows my mind actually is Bill Maher. Bill Maher, who is an otherwise competent person, thinks that Trump is more mentally decayed than Biden, which is like, I mean, come on, man. There's some serious. This goes to Yuri Bezmenov and what's it called? Ideological subversion. It's a very deep brainwashing that goes back, half a century, and it makes it so that people can't acknowledge reality when they see it. It really will take them starving and having their family members.
Well, and with that, Michael, though, when discussing Bill Maher, and I'll get us back to the original thing, but I actually, sneak preview, my most recent video that I just finished recording like earlier today, that'll come out on my YouTube later, is all about how Steve-O was rejected going on Bill Maher's podcast because Bill Maher would not stop smoking weed because Steve-O has like addiction issues, and he was like, I don't want to be anywhere around it. If I'm going to come on Club Random, will you stop smoking just for my episode? And Bill Maher said no.
Wow.
So if you want to
He's a
talk about
douche.
why Bill Maher can't actually comprehend reality, it would probably be because he smokes too much weed. But that's besides the point of what we're really talking about here, which is kind of just what I talked about in our first story with the Ashley Biden thing. All that we're having done right now for us is in these stories is they're breaking and we'll act surprised, but we're just being told what we already know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we already knew, like was said, we already knew that the point of allowing for an open border is to let these illegal immigrants vote. And if they can't do it through legal means of passing some level of a law that says anybody in the United States can vote, whether you're legal, illegal, whatever, then they're going to try to subvert that vote by being like, like we'll try to let you, like, because if those are all the ones that are being caught in attempting to register, how many are getting let through?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about when I first saw this. I said, okay, well, this is just like the border. These are numbers of people that have, attempted to do so. And for border, meaning that's the same as been apprehended. But how many actually got through that border and weren't apprehended, weren't, touched by Border Patrol or whatever it is? Same thing here. How many have successfully got through the loophole here? And they'll say, it's impossible, blah, blah, blah. It's not. I mean, we're literally looking at the process, essentially saying, hey, you don't need a proper photo ID. You can just register with a social security number. Well, what are illegals coming into our country, breaking the laws by not going through the border or through the port of entry and everything like that? They are receiving social security numbers, so they're able to work here in the US. And then they're turning around and probably trying to register to vote. Who knows? Maybe some group is trying to incentivize them, saying, hey, here's a $20 gift card. We've seen that in the past. So, I mean, anything is possible here. Guys, final thoughts on this topic. What do you guys think?
It's happening. It's been said it was going to happen. It's been in strategies since the 1970s of this exact thing happening. Now we have proof of it happening. If you still don't believe it, maybe that's you problem.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to take us on a tangent, as I never do.
I
Just
love
quick commentary that I just thought of is
we need deep analysis.
There we go. When it comes to the border, right? It just made me think of the Patriot Act. They pushed through this Patriot Act because of terrorism, right? This is completely off kilter, but they pushed through the Patriot Act, and you can detain American citizens for suspicion of being involved in terrorism. Meanwhile, 10 million people cross the border, many of them suspected to be terrorists and MS-13 gang members. But meanwhile, they have the Patriot Act, and then you have FBI and January 6th. It's just one extra level to this, to the border, the open border, that is just absurdity, right? So last comment. That was all I had.
By the way, guys, if you're not following Kevin on YouTube, follow Kevin on YouTube. It's Kevin the Fairs, or Speechless with Kevin.
Yep, Speechless with Kev. That's me. Speechless with Kev.
Speechless with Kev.
A lot of fiery.
It's a great show. They say it might be the best show on YouTube right now. Could be. I don't know who says it, but I hear it.
Oh my God, that's on point.
Yes, sir.
Kev, you have to make that a regular segment. Let's go.
I do it often on my show. I'll be like, because every time I've been following all the hoaxes against Trump, and this is a bit of a tangent. I've been following all the hoaxes, the bloodbath hoax, the animals hoax that just happened, and I follow all of them. And I'll always be like, and I'll always just bring in my little. It's I don't think it's very good, but I just have a good time doing it. I do it at work all the time too. I'm like, oh man, we got all these files, and they're big. Some say they might be the biggest files, and we do our best here at the job.
I think it's definitely very good compared to other ones I've heard. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I have to roast Ben Shapiro. He tries to mimic Trump, and he does.
Does he really?
He just does such a lousy job at it.
He doesn't look like an impressionist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not.
That's why you never see me do impressions, because everything I
Same.
do sounds like a Russian guy. So it doesn't matter what it is; it's all the same. So I stopped doing it.
We'll get it one day. We'll get it out of you one day.
Yeah.
Oh
one
yeah.
day. All right. Should we go to commercial?
Let's go to commercial.
Sure.
All right, guys. And then next up, we got some more good sauce for you.
All right, bird flu. Here we go again. Right? Good music. I like it. But bird flu back in the news. And I always like when it's election season and some kind of flu is always in the news for us. But here we go again. All right.
Wow.
3.0, 4.0, 5.0. I don't know. I lost track by now. But bird flu pandemic could be 100 times worse than COVID. Scientists warn. Oh, they're starting it already, guys. So is this on cue? Is this on point? I mean, like, have we been waiting for this? I personally thought this would be here by January. We had disease X and whatnot, but we get bird flu, which interesting. So guys, thoughts? What are y'all thinking?
Those were cows in the screenshot. It says bird flu, and those are cows in the screenshot.
Because it's apparently the bird flu is attacking Chick-fil-A, or I mean, cows. So it's going hard against the cows, and somehow that's going to impact us as humans. But
well, here's a question. If COVID had a 99% survival rate, and this is 100 times worse, would that be 100% of the people who get it are going to die? If not, this is very weirdly worded. Right? I mean, I'm
It's
not a
all
mathematician,
nonsense.
but if you take 1 times 100, it equals 100.
We need to examine the study where they got that statistic. I just finished reading How to Lie with Statistics, and I'm almost 100% positive that that is a lie.
Let's not climate change. I'll bring it up again, but statistics. Climate change is not science, it's statistics and it's modeling.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to manipulate statistics to say whatever the hell you want it to say.
Yeah.
I think I should stay out of this one because I'll get us banned off YouTube. So I'll let you guys have this one.
yeah,
Well-
you can't get speechless Kev banned. Don't you
No.
dare, Mike.
If you want to know what I
can't,
think,
honestly, I've tried. I mean, I can't get banned. I just get shadow banned. So
Yeah, that's what they
Be
like
careful.
to do.
Don't say the most controversial thing that man. I won't.
oh yeah,
I
you
always
got
see. That's the thing is, I always say men can't be women, women can't be men. I've never gotten banned for it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like
okay. Well, you just screwed us now, Kev.
Demonetized.
You just screwed us now.
Thanks.
Production.
that's like
there
my
is-
biggest issue. I don't know but with this bird flu one, I gotta be honest. I think that because there was even, and I had a whole live stream about it. My voice did a weird thing, but I had a whole live stream about it not too long ago. Few
That's a
months,
great
actually.
comment. Sorry. The cows identify as birds with the flu. Very nice.
But like I remember at one point back in like last November, December, they were like, "Oh my gosh, like a new variant of COVID is coming back." And like I had a video that I did, and it was like COVID Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. And I was just like, "Oh my God, are they actually starting it? Are they actually starting it?" And then it ended up being a fleeting headline that never really went anywhere. And so that's what I wonder about this one. As much as like I know that they've been stoking a lot of fear monger and just a lot of crap for the election year, I don't know if this one's that. I'll say that. I don't think this is going to be it.
Yeah, we hear this
Ike,
every year. There's something wrong every year.
Years ago,
Hold that thought for
I'm
just a
pretty sure-
second. If we could just get production to pull up that WHO response to the bird flu, that'd be good. Keep going, guys.
I remember they were going door to door. The government was killing people's chickens in California. Do you remember that, Fabian?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
They kill chickens. And here's the thing is, so
It's like
if
a
you-
Bible
if-
story. Sorry, it sounds like something you'd hear in the Bible. Like
smear
and-
blood and then you'll be saved and
Yeah.
chickens won't get infected. But
Well,
yeah,
I think it's the
they've done this-
Netherlands.
Yeah, in Netherlands they've done it. They wanted to kill 200,000 cows because climate change. They also have, I mean, whenever something like this happens inside of a facility, they'll kill like 50,000, 80,000 chickens because they need to get rid of everything. Unless you give them one of Bill Gates' vaccines, and apparently they're safe. and then they turn into bugs, and then you can eat them because it's carbon neutral at that point. But
that was a nice twist there.
Yeah, you know, we see
Well
this
done.
happen all the time. And Mao Zedong, during his Cultural Revolution, he has it's almost too comical to even say because it sounds stupid. But he told the people that the birds were eating the crops. So he literally instructed people to go out and chase the birds until the birds could no longer fly and were exhausted and died from exhaustion. So imagine, I don't know how many millions of Chinese people there were back then, but imagine seeing thousands and thousands of Chinese people running after birds all day long because that's what Mao told you to do. You know what happened? Well, the birds ended up, typically the birds do something called eat the insects, and the insects, since no birds were eating them, they ate all the crops, and they had a massive famine, and something like 20 million people died from that stupidity.
Yep.
So I see this going along the same route as animals are bad, kill animals, do it for the state, do it for climate change, do it for your country, and then we'll be good.
That's the story of the red sparrow. I think one of the best ones. Seriously, it's crazy. But just real quickly, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Bill Gates, like a year ago or whatever, was suggesting that we need to do something about carbon dioxide. So he was saying like farts from cows, for example, we need to limit the amount of cows because they fart so much. So I'm like thinking, like, I was thinking at the time, I'm like, so what's going to be next? Our pets? Then it's going to be us,
then
right?
us.
That's not a far
Right.
step.
You are the carbon they want to reduce.
Right.
No, but okay. Honestly, if we want to let's get into this tweet. But I have so much to talk about when it comes to population decrease or deduction. Like that's what they want. That's what they want for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this tweet, it says, here we go again. Scientists blame bird flu pandemic could be 100 times worse than COVID. Did you know, February of 23, WHO's Tedros said we must prepare for a potential H5N1 human bird flu pandemic? How in the heck did he know? Did you know in February of 2024, the U.S. is collaborating with Chinese scientists to make bird flu strains more infectious and deadly as part of a $1 million project? So I'm sure this is a gain of function research where you mutate a virus so that you can come up with a solution to the virus that you made. Crazy logic. Did you know in December of 2022, the $1.7 trillion omnibus bill included $335 billion for an influenza pandemic, which included the use of surveillance tools? How in the heck did they know? Remember, in October of 2022, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the WHO and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, conducted a tabletop catastrophic contagion exercise at the Grand Challenges annual meeting in Brussels, Belgium. How the heck are they preparing for, or what the heck? So that was interesting.
And there's that video right there on the second thing. That's him talking about this like a few months back.
There have been several reports of mammals, including minks, otters, foxes, and sea lions, having been infected with H5N1 avian influenza. H5N1 has spread widely in wild birds and poultry for 25 years, but the recent spillover to mammals needs to be monitored closely. For the moment, WHO assesses the risk to humans as low. Since H5N1 first emerged in 1996, we have only seen rare and non-sustained transmission of H5N1 to and between humans. But we cannot assume that will remain the case, and we must prepare for any change in the status quo. As always, people are advised not to touch or collect dead or sick wild animals.
This guy's evil.
Them to the local authorities.
But he's just a talking head, right?
He's just a talking head. Exactly. He's a spokesperson for them. He's just a propaganda machine.
He's reading as much as Biden does. And honestly, they're coming after the otters, man. As soon as I heard the otters, I was like, all right, now we got to do something. Now we got to do something. It's the otters.
Now it's war.
Yep. Now it's war.
So I'm gonna throw it quickly because I can't elaborate completely if we're on YouTube. But if you're interested in why I think this is all just irrelevant, any of the gain of function research or them doing research on trying to make viruses more deadly or whatnot, read the books Contagion Myth, which Contagion Myth is a very short book, and then there's Virus Mania, which goes through the history of all viruses, all alleged viruses. So whether or not those ideas are right or wrong. We have to understand that it's a whole media propaganda campaign anyways, because clearly COVID, what the whole pandemic, they portrayed it as, if we walked out of our houses, we would see people dying on the streets, and that the hospitals were full. And you know what? They had to censor videos showing empty hospitals. They had to censor videos of nurses saying, we just got furloughed, the hospitals are empty. So the propaganda machine is the more important part, right? No matter what actually is going on with bird flu or not, which is it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
We have to understand what they're doing in terms of the media and how it's actually getting people to behave. But I think that they've exhausted this option with the flus and whatnot, because even people that are, have 2 boosters are saying, oh, no, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. So they've really kind of pushed this to its limit. I don't think they'll be able to use it again for, let's say, an election, but they might be able to use it to kill all our cows. So that's a different story.
Maybe that's one thing though that I want to piggyback onto, because just going through a thought exercise here, like I feel like you can't really be, because I also believe, like I said, like I started with, is I think this is getting blown out of proportion. I think a lot of things get blown out of proportion, or people get very scared about something that's not really anything, and it's because of the way the media portrays it. And so you can't really have it where you both are worried about gain of function research and think that like the world's going to die because the government's playing around with spooky viruses and stuff, and at the same time be really mad and be unhappy with the government lying to us about how COVID actually was. Because I feel like I feel like you can't have it both ways. Like you can't be like, oh my gosh, the world's going to end, but also the media tells us the world's going to end and it doesn't. Does that make sense?
I see exactly what you're saying. Yes. There's a duality there that you can't, they're kind of paradoxical, right? Yeah. So there's a discontinuity of logic there.
I totally agree. I agree with you. And that's why I wanted to highlight this story today, because it seems like they're just trying to find any way they can to shove some new type of emergency down all of our throats, essentially.
Of course.
Trying to create some chaos, especially with this election season going on. Because look, on every main topic for voters right now, Biden is failing like crazy. So I feel like this is an attempt by the establishment, by the legacy media. We've all read that Times magazine when they were talking about a shadow campaign. Well, this is part of their shadow campaign, is trying to find different ways to make us like literally go chaos, essentially go into a chaos before the election. So
it's not about, I'm sorry, I'll let Bree go, but not, but to be clear, it's not about actually killing us with a virus. It's about making us kill each other.
Exactly. Bree, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I already shared some thoughts in the beginning, but I think it's all BS, obviously. I think it's more fear propaganda. I mean, I feel like since COVID, there's been, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these horrible, deadly viruses that have magically appeared from Africa or whatever, and none of them really amount to much of anything. So I think it's more fear. Possibly another ploy to do mail-in voting. We'll see.
Yeah.
But to also be clear, I also don't think that, and I don't know if you guys, and I know I keep talking after everybody, but I just keep having more thoughts.
No,
is that when it comes to these things, it's not at least me saying, because I can't speak for everybody, that these viruses aren't real. It's just that they are not nearly the threat that the media portrays them to be. Like Ebola was real, not as big. We all thought we were going to have all these mumps and everything, that we were going to die from a third world country.
Oh, high fives.
Yeah, seriously, like that. COVID was a real disease. But if you look at the numbers, didn't kill nearly as many people as the media portrayed that it would and did. So piggyback onto that.
So this is sorry, Fabian, one quick thing. This is a good opportunity to kind of tell people to try to go follow us on Rumble, because on Rumble we can be a little more, and some of you might be watching from Rumble, but Rumble, we don't have the problem of self-censoring. So I put the link in the comments, and so if you're interested, you can follow us on Rumble.
I'll make sure it's mine too.
Yep. I was just going to say that there's something called the R number, and it's how easily someone can catch whatever it is, right? So apparently Ebola was so deadly that the person didn't live long enough in order to infect other people, because as soon as you got it, like you knew you had it. So you would quarantine yourself and all that. So whereas COVID had, and I think the R number they gave was like 3.2, which is extremely high, which means it's very transmissible, but it's transmissible because it doesn't really do anything compared to if it was super deadly, that people wouldn't live long enough to be super spreaders around areas. So that's something I think is interesting. So if I'm whoever is behind this, and we kind of know, what do I do next? Do I release a slightly more deadlier variant of something to scare people even more? Because now you're all laughing at me, right? If I'm this guy and I'm watching this podcast and I'm like, you know what, Brianna, Kevin, Michael, Fabian, and David, all right, you want to make fun of me? The next one's going to be way more deadly. See how you're laughing then. And then you can take people who are not, taking it seriously and then say, oh, damn, like this is actually like a little more deadly than we thought. And that's how I scare you back into giving me all your freedoms that you gave me last time. But not us specifically, but just people in general.
That's my exact thoughts when I think about that. It's like, now that we all are aware of all that stuff, if a really deadly virus comes, like, like, how are we
so
gonna
can I let me just kind of quell any anxieties along this line.
Well, Michael's going to say the viruses don't exist.
I'm not going to say that because I don't want to get censored, but on Rumble I might say that. So what I would say is, okay, first of all, they need a crisis. So, never let a good crisis go to waste. If there's not a good crisis, make one. And if you can't make one, make it in the media, right? So the media machine that they have can just fabricate crises out of nowhere, right? People are living in some sort of media matrix because the media is all choreographed, right? You have that video of Fox News LA, then Fox News, and they're repeating the same thing about misinformation 100 different times, word for word, right? So the media machine is very powerful. But what I would say along this line, whether you want to even follow my train of thought with viruses and them potentially not, what I'll say is there's doctors out there that postulate that viruses don't exist. This is other people's thoughts, not mine. I didn't say it. But also that contagion.
We're not saying that, YouTube.
We're not saying that at all. But what I would say is that I think we give these people too much credit. This gain of function research and their ability to tamper with viruses and bacteria and make them spreadable, I think is just a media propaganda narrative to scare people. Because we give these people are not that competent. I'm telling you, these people, we're dealing with people that are not as smart as we give them credit for.
I don't know, Mike.
Listen,
I would say George Soros is a very smart guy and a very dangerous guy. So
in some sense, yes.
I can't act like he's dumb. Now there are people that his underlings are.
I'm talking about the scientists. I'm talking about the scientists.
Okay, but you're right with the scientists. You're right with George Soros to an extent. But I mean, would people that smart really? Wouldn't they get somebody better than Biden? Somebody who could have better approval ratings than Biden to be president?
No,
I mean,
what's the more impressive thing is that they have him. The more impressive thing is that they installed this dementia-ridden patient in the most powerful country in the history of the world.
Is that just like a joke? Was that like a side quest for him in it? Was it?
But the people, how did we roll over?
But if they did that, why couldn't, if they can install them, why can't they just do that, with somebody a little better? That's all I'm saying.
I have a conspiracy theory about that, but I'll save that for another.
No. Let's
roll it out.
Let's hear it.
You can't hit us.
Okay, so in 1990, it was either 1995 or 1996. The Illuminati card game came out. It predicted accurately 9/11 and the Pentagon and some other things as well. And one of the things that it is predicting is that there will be I believe they call him the Great Leader, and he looks like Donald Trump on the card, blonde hair, everything, and that this great leader will be assassinated. But this great leader needs to win the election first. So I almost feel like it's possible that Trump is controlled opposition and it's part of the plan to get him elected. So they don't really care about Biden. I don't know, just a thought. But
this is a board game from 19.
It's a card game, Illuminati card game. Yeah.
We gotta play this. We gotta play this live.
I've talked about it a lot. I post on my story a lot. I'll find it and we'll look into it.
We should do a live stream. It's called the Illuminati board game.
Exclusive on Rumble and Twitter.
They're expensive. I've tried to get my hands on one of them.
Oh, this is the card game. Oh, we should make an Illuminati board game. All right, you heard it here first. Breakaway USA Illuminati board game coming soon.
Honestly, side quest, we should actually make some kind of a game. Daily Wire did it. They made like Yes or No, the Michael Knowles game. I've played that on my show before. Like, honestly, we should make
Oh,
something.
that is fun. That is fun.
We should
I've
make
played
something
that.
fun. Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
do that. We'll do a game night. So with the bird flu, I just want to end by shouting our sponsor real quickly, because I think this is a perfect moment to say thank you for the Wellness Company, because in the incident that something like the bird flu pandemic may happen, like a COVID 2.0, 3.0 thing or whatever, at least be prepared for it with an emergency kit, a health kit. They have all different types of kit. Fabian has a kit that he took with him when he was traveling, and he was really satisfied with the fact that he had all of these things in a nice little cozy travel kit size thing. So go on twc.health/breakaway, put on our code breakaway. Just breakaway, then you'll save 15%. Anything else with the Wellness Company?
Yeah, if you got the Vax, they have a spike support, which is a natural remedy to stop producing spike proteins. Because I've been reading a lot about this from the National Institute of Health and a bunch of other organizations, where long COVID is like things like fuzzy, like a fuzzy brain, lethargic, restlessness, all these things. And it comes from long COVID, which is basically you get these vaccines and then it makes you produce these spike proteins, but then you never stop producing them. So it's constant inflammation in your body. This helps to get rid of it. It's really cool. It's called Spike Support. So if you're on the website, check them out. As soon as if you go to twc.health/breakaway, it should automatically put the 15% off already, but just double check if you did get vaxxed.
Fabian, you got it already. So, and I'm in Canada, so it's a little hard for me to get, but I'm going to be getting one of these kits too. But so you had to do a telemedicine conversation with one of their doctors. Is that right? Because there is actual...
no, it's just a form that you fill out. So you're going to get actual medicines like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and a bunch of other stuff I can't pronounce. But you get actual medicine. So
that are prescribed medications, yes. But they're ones that have lost patents, and they're ones that are the very safe, you know, the ones that they said were dangerous and for horses and whatnot, but that have like some of the biggest safety profiles out of all drugs, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which ones are out of and which ones are in, but the ones that you get,
hydroxychloroquine is for sure out of patent.
Yeah, you just fill out a form and then a doctor reviews it and then sends it out. But yeah, it's really cool. They have pamphlets, so check them out on the website. A lot of good stuff that they have over there at TWC.
They also have a lot of supplements, right? They have a lot of natural supplements that are very well sourced. And the telemedicine thing, I think, is actually very important for the future. And we talk a lot about at Breakaway USA. A big part of what we do is, or our ethos, let's say, is breaking away from the establishment and breaking away from the corrupt institutions, behemoth bureaucracies. So a little company like this comes along and provides a health service online, and there's many of them as well. And but the Wellness Company is the one that we're most familiar with, and they're a great company and great people there. But so the telemedicine, I think, is super important to be able to get away from these big hospitals and big, you know, pharmaceutical companies and whatnot. So they have a whole full circle thing there. So
well, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I've heard of, and I can't name any of the names off the top of my head right now, but I'll try to connect them with us a little bit more. But if you get away from like your Purdue Pharma and your Johnson & Johnson and everything like that, there's actually a lot of small people that are working and making huge strides in the medical industry. I mean, I've heard of companies where they do these, and it's not just telehealth. They'll like fly you out to places and you do full body scans, and they can catch cancerous cells, like the things that you're at risk for at much earlier times than your traditional practice, your traditional doctor might be able to. And then they prescribe different supplements and even find better ways to treat you than what the mainstream way of medicine has told people is the right way. And it's worked for people, because the way that the mainstream level of medicine is, the people that are all connected, where the conglomeration of wealth is, it's not actually healthcare, it's sick care. They want to keep you just healthy enough to where they can keep their hand in your pocket.
And with that, go check out the Wellness Company.
Yes, sir. Check them out.
To wrap that up a little bit, I would just say that this idea of, you know, a long time, you know, we don't need to go into the history of modern medicine. I think, Brianna, you might have touched this, the Rockefellers and the Flexner Report. Can you guys hear me?
Not yet.
You're frozen
haven't?
though, but I'm gonna
My-
leave
my
you on because
frozen.
it's a funny face.
I
you're
look
making.
good. All right.
Yeah. All right.
You look
Well,
funny.
let's go to the
Um,
next topic to finish this up. We're about
Yep.
an
But
hour.
but
in,
so hold on, just to wrap
hold on,
it up.
Michael. We can't see you, so just if you can come out and come back in.
We'll give you the end of the show for that. But let's go to the next topic where Tulsi rejects RFK Jr.'s VP proposal. So obviously he picked Nicole Shanahan, which former Google executive wife, very, very progressive in terms of that. She has this insane social justice program for environment, criminal justice, all of this different stuff. But apparently he asked Tulsi and she rejected him. So guys, what do you guys think? Why did he try to get Tulsi in the first place?
Because he wanted to win. And I think now when he didn't get her,
why would Tulsi?
I don't think RFK wants to win.
Interesting.
I think, well, no.
He might have wanted to.
Okay, not that I don't think he doesn't want to win. I don't think RFK actually sees himself winning.
Right.
That's more of what I think. I think that he sees himself as being able to make a statement, and I think Tulsi would help him make a bigger statement. Along with that, he also sees himself as being able to sell the idea that he could maybe win, like he's like the 16 seed in March Madness, that it's like, oh my God, like I'm in it, so maybe, but like it's not really going to happen. And so and when it comes to the fundraising and what happens to, here's the question that nobody ever asks in any campaign, what happens to the funds that they have left over afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
why does it cost so much?
But I know a lot of times candidates will run for local positions, take that money, and then run for something bigger the next year, like Congress.
Sometimes
that's pretty common. Yeah. So I don't know about presidential campaigns, but
it always ends up going to charity or like, well, so if you're not the top person, and so like if you're in a primary, a lot of times that's a huge thing is slush funds will go to whoever you endorse when you got out. So like I'm willing to bet Ron DeSantis's slush fund that he got went to Donald Trump's campaign, things like that. But if you're the top person, a lot of times it gets spread out between a lot of different LLCs or 501c3s, things like that. And where does that money ultimately end up going back to? You want to know why a lot of these politicians have so much money? It's not just because they're corrupt in their investments and everything like that. No, it's because the money somehow gets washed and then brought back to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. To a 501c that then they end up going on the board and then get a hefty salary from, things like that.
Exactly. Or they can even pay themselves from the campaign sometimes, because a lot of times you're not working. And so then you're considered like an employee of the campaign and you get to pay yourself a certain amount.
Oh, yeah.
So you think that RFK is just in there for the money, right?
I don't think it's all for the money. I do think he, to an extent, wants to make a statement. But I mean, I don't see anybody getting to that point. Like where he is at, he will take probably, I'd say 10 to 15% of the vote. Like I'd say I could see him liberally estimating 10 to 15% of that vote. And so like, I feel like there's got to be an altruistic level of like, man, I'm making a statement to the system. But when you also know you're running a losing race, there's got to be other motives. And the biggest one that I would see would be money.
Like, so there's been a massive attempt for a very long time to create a third party that actually has some wheels behind it. You know, I know like there's a few, but nothing serious, right? And I've said this a few times. If I'm RFK and I believe the FBI killed my uncle, JFK, and my father, and they won't give me Secret Service protection, I'm like, and the release of vaccine or I'd be like, screw these guys. And that's what I believe he's doing. He's able to make the Democrats lose. At the same time, he clearly picked a very liberal, progressive VP pick that's going to just solidify the vote from those very left wingies or wingers or wingies, whatever. And then my assessment of the situation is because, like you said, he knows he can't win, but he can take generous, and I'm the same. I'm there with you. 10 to 15% of the vote. The next 4 years of the Trump presidency, he can develop his ground game and build up a true third party that many people have tried to do, but maybe with the name recognition and just the times that we're living in, and Biden's opposition to the ceasefire, which I think now he's coming around because he sees the polls and now he's saying, okay, guys, we need a ceasefire, which is a whole different subject. I think there's potential for him to really start a actual third party with some wheels.
That would be interesting because the founding fathers were very much against a two-party system. They were also very much against the banana republic that we have now. So there's a lot more work to do than just a third party. But
yeah, anybody who think it's not going to solve all the problems, I think that's important.
But it would be a step. I mean, when you look at the 2020 election, it's just like when after the 2020 election, to me, when we talk about polls, and I know they're important, but for me, every time I hear a poll, every time I hear, you know, the election is going to be this percentage, that percentage. I mean, look at the numbers. Look at the percentages in the 2020 election. There's 30 million more people that voted from one year to the next. It was, you know, we can't comment on the election. It was a very secure, most, you know, the best run election in history. But like a lot of it is just, it's mumbo jumbo, you know. So in terms of RFK, he is a lot more left than like the reason why a lot of people on the right kind of align with, and Tulsi Gabbard would have been, if you got Tulsi Gabbard, it would have pulled more people from the right than the left, because Tulsi is quite conservative. I see her pretty much, like I'm pretty much aligned with her on most things, I would say. But he is a lot more.
You think Tulsi's conservative, Mike?
Have you seen her stance on abortion?
No, okay. Well, but conservative in terms of fiscally, in terms of freedom, in terms of not on every stance, but in a lot of ways, there's. I mean,
you're right, Michael. So in terms of her free speech approach, she very much lines up with what majority of us conservatives believe.
She's more of a classical liberal now. In terms
of, I was gonna say she's like a Lockean liberal, like very John Locke in her approach.
What really turned her off the Democrat Party, because I just watched her Lex Friedman podcast, is the military establishment fact of it. So I think that's what starts to resemble more of us as conservatives. But yeah, I mean, she's
also just not a lunatic, right? She's also just a reasonable person, which, you know, differentiates you from most of the Democrat Party, which are just hysterical people. But
you know, not all of them. You know, we got
not all. But
so I don't want to bash Democrats because I don't want them to go vote for Biden. So guys, come over to our side. I promise Michael will make any more fun of you.
I'm not talking about liberals. I'm talking about leftists,
progressives
that are people that are just like you can't communicate with them, right? Like there's plenty of reasonable people on the left. And the spectrum obviously has moved, right? Like Joe Rogan is a liberal by all counts. But anyways, RFK, I don't think there's any way he can win. I mean, clearly, I think you're right. He knows that he can't win, and it's him making a statement, like you said, Fabian, right? So why not? I guess. And why not throw your voice out there? Vivek obviously knew that he couldn't win, right? Clearly, but now he is a potential candidate for the following race, right? So, like you said, like you guys were saying, sets him up for the future.
Yeah. So this is apparently from the Blaze. Tulsi Gabbard said RFK asked if she would serve as his running mate, and she respectfully denied. Interesting. I wonder why.
Do you guys think that she may have said no because she's counting on Trump possibly?
That's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah.
When I was at CPAC, she was. They did like a straw poll, and she was, I think, tied for first place. Like based on the crowd, what they voted that they would want to see Trump's VP pick.
Well, Kevin, what is her stance on abortion? I don't.
She is definitely more pro-choice, and that's the problem. That's why and I don't know if this is a shocker to anybody out there. I think I talked about it with Fabian, like when I first started with Breakaway. But like Trump was not my first pick for president. It's because I didn't think he was conservative enough, and that'd be a problem if he picked Tulsi. That would be a problem for me. Like I'd still vote for him. Like, I mean, that versus Joe Biden, like I'd still vote for Trump, but like, I think we should be much tougher on the LGBTQ community. I think we should be much tougher on abortion. We should be much tougher on pretty much every social issue. I obviously care about the fiscal issues. I don't think we should be really caring about either. If we are to care about Israel, we should only have vocal support for Israel. Ukraine, we should be entirely out of. We should, out of all the current conflicts globally, we should only really care about Taiwan. And I know I'm going on kind of a tangent, but what I'm saying here is that Trump is not a conservative candidate. He's the more conservative candidate of the two currently, but he was not the most conservative candidate in 2024. And so that's what makes me mad is I hear all these people that are like, well, I'm a conservative. That's why I support Trump. And I'm like, Trump has never really been a conservative.
He was a Democrat his whole life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He's your perfect
Very, very
example of a
sociable.
liberal, quote unquote, Republican, because like, for example, his abortion plan when he gets back in office isn't, you know, a 6-week abortion ban. It's more of a 12-week, 14-week, something like that. Because I think that's actually an advantage that we have is, and look, I'm a little bit more socially liberal. I'm fiscally conservative and I consider myself conservative, but I think that Trump is actually a perfect representation for Republicans because we get both sides of the coin there. We can win over socially liberal people in terms that are maybe more friendly to the LGBTQ alphabet community soup or whatever it is, but are pretty fiscally conservative, don't want a bunch of government spending. They want a strong military and stuff like that. So I totally agree with you. I don't think that he's the perfect representation of a conservative candidate, but I think that's actually pretty good for Republicans if we want to win elections.
I agree with you. And that's where I kind of get into it is because I'm like, as an ideologue, I get mad because he's not as conservative as I'd like him to be. I'd want a more conservative candidate to win. But from a tactical standpoint, you're right in terms of that maybe Tulsi is the right idea. And let's be honest. And am I allowed to curse on here? Am I allowed to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay,
as long
well,
as you don't say vaccine or something, we can say any F-bomb.
The VP position is basically. You said I can't say the F-bomb.
No, I said you can't say the F-bomb.
Can't say the V-bomb.
Okay, good.
You
Because
can't say the V-bomb.
the VP
If maybe we need
position
another
is
word
a
for you.
fuck off assignment. That's what I've been trying to say. The VP position is a fuck off assignment, and so yes, I wouldn't love Tulsi as an ideologue, but from a political standpoint, wouldn't be a bad pick.
Here's a problem with that.
That'll be a great
is
job, actually.
After Trump's out of office, now you have Tulsi Gabbard to take the mantle. Is that who you really want to run as a conservative? I'm way more for someone like Tim Scott. And I've said this before, if Ron DeSantis, if he's not your chief of staff, which I don't know why you wouldn't make him your chief of staff. The guy's an incredible manager. Then make him your VP pick for a lot of the more moderates. But who else do you get? I mean, I know you need a woman.
Nikki Haley, come on.
Oh, fuck that.
Imagine Nikki Haley taking the mantle from Trump. Oh gosh, that would.
I think DeSantis would be his smartest pick because he's the closest one to be quote unquote like Nikki Haley. And before you roast me about this, not in terms of a candidate and everything represents and whatnot, in terms of those disenfranchised Republicans that are the never Trumpers or whatever, DeSantis can pick them up. He will then be lined up as the candidate for the next 8 years after that. It would be so good. 12 years.
We got to make sure
America
it would have to be done well though, because the way I could see it going is essentially the way that Reagan into
that's true.
Bush Sr.
Yeah,
is you have 2 terms of a good. I mean, except for I guess. You'd have the time in between of Joe, but it would be 2 terms essentially of a Republican president and a good Republican president. And then you have another one and you have somebody who was actually going to be a decent leader for the time of which it was. I'm not a Bush Senior fan, but like for the time, if you put yourself into 91 or into the late 80s, early 90s, okay, it seemed like a natural fit, but then people wanted change. And so then we got rid of somebody who could have actually probably done pretty well the second 4 years.
Look, here's what needs to happen. The Democrat Party has to lose, and they have to lose badly, because then they're going to go to the chopping block and say, what in the hell happened? And everyone knows what the answer is going to be. Wokeism, ultra lefty stuff. Get the hell out of our party. We can't win with you. It's clear. The country doesn't want you. Like, we did everything we possibly could to Trump. We try to take away his golf courses. We give him the humanity's largest fine.
Not the golf course
ever. And we didn't win. So clearly we need to change. And I know that this happens in parties whenever they get trounced, right? It's happened to the Republican Party. It happened to the Democrat. It happens to both. I think they need to get their butts whipped this November to really say, all right, we got to clean house and go back to this normal stuff that we used to be, at least.
Okay, but so we all agree that, clearly if there's a legitimate election, Trump's winning. And clearly we know that the left, and I'm talking about the George Soros left and the high ups in this, these insane people that are just trying to uproot our whole civilization, they're not just going to accept it and bend over and say, you win, right? They're working on a nuclear option, and I don't know what it is. This bird flu is not going to work. What is it going to be? I don't know.
You know what? The further it gets into this, the more I think, no, it doesn't have to be.
You think they're just going to roll over and take it?
The long march to the institutions. It's a long game. They have this entire generation where it's at something like 20%.
Oh, but they're frantic now, man. They think climate change is going to end the world.
Yes. So they're working on a timeline. But I think these people have all the time in the world because they don't stop. I mean, they're pushing it for the same stuff that Trotsky pushed for in a sense, and Stalin, and I mean, it never ends.
But they don't know
always
that.
going to fundamentally believe, but the people at the top do.
Maybe, yeah.
That's
what I'm trying to juggle with. I know.
We were talking about why they continue to run Biden earlier, and I think they had planned on Newsom. And they kind of tested the ground on that. And like we were talking about one time, Fabian, like they try their ideas. And once we kind of find out their ideas, they kind of switch gears. So I think maybe they were going to run Newsom or possibly Michelle Obama. And now they're kind of stuck with Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, Newsom's even more repugnant. That guy, every time I hear him speak, he's like Trudeau. Like
They're the same person.
Oh yeah, the same person. They're just failed actors.
This is totally off topic, but quick question. Did you guys know that Gavin Newsom and Kimberly Guilfoyle used to be married? What happened there?
Yeah.
What happened? Like, what happened? Why does no one question that? I feel like with all like the rabbit holes I've seen, so many like conservative pundits and stuff go down, nobody has ever gone down the hole of like, hey, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who is now with Donald Trump Jr., used to be married to like enemy number one on the left. Like, what the heck? Why is nobody asking that question?
Right.
I tweeted that exact thing, Kevin.
And like everyone's okay with it. Like no one even questions the Trumps for this. It's
so
weird. I mean,
what are we saying here? Are we saying Kimberly Guilfoyle is
a really good social ladder climber, better than Kamala Harris?
Right,
maybe?
but is she like maybe infiltrating? Oh, nobody's better than Kamala. Man,
Kamala.
Yeah, don't be
and like,
racist,
the other
Mike.
thing with Kimberly is, I'm sorry, but like way too much plastic in that face. That's the other thing too. And so like I don't know, but nobody asks that question. I want answers.
What I'm asking is she infiltrating? Is she like an agent? Is she
Maybe this will be a
agent
next investigations episode that we
I
can
was
go
just
down.
going to say that.
Yep.
Could be.
Who is Kimberly Guilfoyle?
Yeah.
The lady behind the mask and the plastic.
The plastic mask. I mean, she says the right things in terms of being a conservative. I don't know. So there's this quote I go back to a lot is if you're not a liberal when you're younger, you don't have a heart. And if you don't become conservative as you get older, you don't have a brain. Because the leftist ideas and ideologies, in the early 20th century, they were testing them out and they're like, oh, this communism, socialism, fascism could be this utopic vision. But now we have the data's in. We know that it's nonsense. So it only works with a brainwashing and a propaganda machine and the academia and the long march of the institutions. It only works with that. But once people start to actually live in the real world, when you're not living in the academic bubble, if you don't become a conservative, you're just, there's no hope for you.
No hope.
Yes,
but so going back to Trump, actually,
hold on, guys, we gotta close up here in a second. We're almost an hour and 20 minutes.
But just the $7 trillion that he spent, that there's a couple things with Trump. The $7 trillion he spent, and I know you want a better military, but arguably not. If you go back to the founding fathers, they didn't want a military, they didn't want a standing military. But also his push, his reiterating of how amazing his speed. What was it called? The warp speed. My warp speed. We had it in no time because of Kevin. Give me some.
Operation Warp Speed. It gave us the vaccine in record time. The CDC, they got it approved real quick so that we could save millions and millions of people. Unseen, never happened in American history.
And he keeps pushing this. Thank you, Kevin. Wow. Yep. We're going to use that a lot more.
I think that's a perfect way to kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, but so he needs to stop that. His advisors need to tell him to stop doing that. Like his base does not want that, right? His base is not
boo him, yeah.
So Yeah, somebody's got to tell them that. On that note, yeah, we can close up if you guys want. Who's running this? Who's running the ship?
I'll close it down. I'll close
All
the
right.
ship down for us. But yeah, so I mean, we went through a lot, and we're 20 minutes over time, so you guys got some exclusive extra time there. But thank you so much for joining us. It's a Thursday night stream with the home team. As you can see, almost everybody from Breakaway is here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Share, like, follow us everywhere on every single platform. Without the work that you guys do, sharing all of our content, we really wouldn't be here. So good night, guys. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Night,
See you
folks.
later.
Thank you.